Greetings from the Philippines to the world. It's October 6, 5:07 p.m. here in Manila. And we are on Facebook Live on Eagle News. And also watch this video on eaglenewslive.com. I am Cesar Vallejos. We are open for business. Join me discover the latest news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. The peso is 54.25 against the dollar, and at the closing of trade yesterday, the Philippine Stock Exchange Index closed at 7,078.20, down 15.14 points or 0.21%. We believe that the Philippines has more than enough talent and expertise to meet the demands of various technology companies and startups. We have heard of highly skilled Filipinos in the field of information technology, design and programming, and engineering, whose talents are at par with the best in the world and are capable of creating a niche in the international and local markets. Aside from talented IT workers, the Philippines also boasts of top Filipino video game designers and animators for online video gaming industry startups, and more world-class Filipinos, making it really big in the world of technology. We are privileged this week to have with us today one of the very few Filipinos who made it big in Silicon Valley, the home to many startup and global technology companies, including Apple, Facebook, and Google. Later, we will meet Jojo Flores, whose company Plug and Play is behind tech brands that include PayPal and Dropbox, and discover his secrets how to make it right at the center of it all in Silicon Valley. Before we talk to Mr. Jojo Flores, co-founder of Plug and Play, let's see these headlines. Nestor Tan of BDO is voted Best CEO. Philippine-Sweden top officials discuss collaborative initiatives to create smart cities. CEOs bullish on banking industry outlook, and September inflation soars to new 9-year high of 6.7%. Here are the details. BDO Unibank's longtime Chief Executive Officer Nestor Tan was voted Best CEO in emerging markets in a poll of investors and analysts conducted by New York-based international finance magazine Institutional Investor. The survey is a key feature of the All-Asia Executive Team, an annual ranking done by Institutional Investor, which often serves as industry benchmarks. Aside from the Philippines, the countries in the emerging markets category include Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. Mr. Tan has received the highest score among all CEOs in the Philippines, Institutional Investor said. Other CEOs who ranked high in the survey were JG Summit Holdings President and CEO Lance Gokongwei and Ayala Corporation Chair and CEO Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala. The Philippines' top officials discuss collaborative initiatives with Sweden to create smart cities. Government and business executives of the Philippines and Sweden gathered at the first Philippine-Sweden Smart City collaboration held at the Quest Hotel in Clark Thursday to share best practices, solutions, and experiences in the areas of energy, transport, and public safety in support of building smart and sustainable cities of the future. Sweden ambassador to the Philippines, Harald Fries, said that the collaboration comes at a critical time when cities and communities around the world are facing new challenges in providing decent quality of life for its citizens. Rapid urbanization continues to have impact on livability. In his welcome remarks, Ambassador Fries shared that by 2050, the estimated share of global urban population in total population is projected to have risen to 68% from 55% today. The Philippines has a current rate of 44%. The Basis Conversion and Development Authority Executive Vice President Eileen Sosa, who was able to visit 2 smart cities in Sweden, said that in developing smart cities, there must be emphasis on giving back the city's roads and streets to pedestrians to be more walkable, and technology has a great role for the next generation of transport and travel. For his part, Department of Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade talked about the need for a smart infrastructure that is powered by technology. World Bank data shows that the Philippines is 20 years behind the expected infrastructure that has to be in place for any country to be fully developed, Secretary Tugade said. Under the Build program of the Philippine government, Secretary Tugade detailed the various accomplishments in the four transport sectors: aviation, transport, maritime, railways, and roads. Aside from Clark, Ulf Wenbom, country manager of Philippines Business Sweden, said that they are interested in Davao, Cebu, and Iloilo as their prime targets for smart city collaboration. The main pillars of the collaboration are in the areas of intelligent transport solutions, public safety, and digitalization in public safety using connected cameras and renewable energy. Wenbon cited bureaucracy and corruption as major challenges in investments. There are commitments made, but it takes quite a long time before projects are implemented. The administration is battling corruption, and we also see change. He said that it is the private sector that actually drives this with support from the government. He added that the Sweden focuses on knowledge transfer and to equip all Filipinos to innovate, as Sweden wants to partner with the Philippines in industrial development. Bank presidents and CEOs are bullish about the outlook for the country's banking system amid the projected 5 to 7% gross domestic product growth for the Philippines over the next 2 years. The maiden report on the banking sector outlook survey of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas showed nearly 7 out of 10 respondents, or 66.7%, consider a stable outlook for the Philippine banking system, while 3 out of 10, or 33.3%, see a stronger industry over the next 2 years. The stable outlook for the banking system can be attributed to the strong macroeconomic fundamentals, adequate liquidity, and rising capital buffers of banks, the BSP stated in the report. The regulator added the upgrade of the banking industry country risk assessment of the Philippines to Group 6 from Group 7 by SP Global Ratings. The bank presidents and CEOs expect assets, total loan portfolio, and earnings to grow between 10% and 20% over the next 2 years, as well as below 10% net interest return on equity, non-performing loan, and leverage ratios. More than 8 of 10, or 83.3% of the respondents mentioned that corporate, particularly micro, small, and medium enterprises, and retail lending would be their topmost priority. As part of their strategies, the bank executives identified 3 strategic priorities, including growing the bank, optimization of available technology, and protecting the bank. September inflation soars to new 9-year high of 6.7%. September inflation was higher than the 6.4% in August, a new 9-year high, and this is slightly lower than the Bangko Sentral 6.8% forecast and higher than the 6.4% forecast of the Department of Finance. Food and non-alcoholic beverages, housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, and transport are the top contributors to the overall inflation, the PSA said. The food and non-alcoholic beverages index grew to 9.7% in September, while transport was at 8%. National statistician Liza Bersales said Typhoon Ompong has specifically contributed to the increase of prices of commodities in the Bicol region. Ompong ravaged northern Luzon on September 15, damaging almost 27 billion worth of rice, corn, high-value crops, fisheries, and livestock in the country. When we get back, we will be talking to Mr. Jojo Flores, the co-founder of Plug and Play, open for business. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Open for Business is back, and with me is the co-founder of Plug and Play, Mr. Jojo Flores. Jojo, thank you very much for coming.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me, Cesar.
Okay, our discussion would be how to make it big in the Silicon Valley and in the world of technology. There's just a few Filipinos who made it big in Silicon Valley, and when I, of course, attended the CINAG Awards, no less than the PPI president said that Jojo Flores and his Plug and Play has a very huge facility at the center of Silicon Valley, and executives are also going there. But before you tell me, or you tell the viewers, how did you make it there in Silicon Valley? I'd like to know, how did you start? Did you really plan to go directly to Silicon Valley?
Well, Cesar, it's funny, like many great things, I guess, you don't get to plan,
Yes.
Things just kind of just happens. But I think the important thing is that you position yourself to win, right? So I guess my story started here in the Philippines. My first job was with one of the multinational companies here, and as a management trainee in that company, I was about 24, 25 years old, and I had the opportunity to start a company, which I really loved. I liked starting companies. No? So I started a bottled water company here, okay, under this conglomerate. And
were you one of the pioneers of this water company before?
Well,
because initially, I remember during the time it was not bottled water; it was not really sold.
There were already a couple of players in the market.
Okay.
Okay. But I guess our entry was one of the more serious ones.
Okay.
So we started that in 1992. Okay, and got it to market leadership in just 3 years.
But wow, what was the business model that you used to make sure that it's the market leader in 3 years?
Well, we made sure that the product was of good quality. Okay, and we made sure that we were touching a specific niche that we wanted to be strong with, in order for us to establish ourselves. But behind that was really, I guess, one of the lessons that I've learned in my career is building a very good team. Okay, like any successful business, I think really the core and the core of it is a very good team. No,
so you started basically with water and not necessarily
not in
IT.
technology. Not in technology.
Not in technology.
I'm not an engineer. I graduated here in the Philippines, in the University of the Philippines, in business. Okay, and I don't have an engineering background or a technical background at all. No, so but one thing for sure was that I like entrepreneurship, in that form. It wasn't my own company, okay, but I like starting companies. And it was with this first job that I actually met my boss and my partner and my longtime friend. No? His name's Said, and when I left the company, the ball water company here, he came to the Philippines and he said, "Hey Jojo, there's a great opportunity now to start the 5-gallon business, the 5-gallon package in Europe." Wow. So this was in '95. So it was funny because I didn't even ask him, how much I was going to get paid.
Okay, interesting.
I just,
but he said in Europe. So
Yeah.
where in Europe, Jojo?
Well, in the end, in 3 years, we started in 10 countries in about 45 cities.
Wow.
Okay, so I lived in Europe for a total of about 9-10 years. and building this business. So
So, but is the demand the same in Europe, similar to ours? So, what was the demand there?
actually, the bottled water business was very much more advanced in Europe than here in Asia, even during that time. But again, we were very careful in our strategy of building the business via a particular package, which was the 5 gallon and the cooler package. No? And we were very strong with the offices first, you know, until we cornered the market in that regard. No? So
And you were heading a specific team there as well?
yeah, so I would come in, I would hire the people, train the people, go out in the field with them, and start the business. No, so I was responsible for building the team and building the business in each of these operations. No? So I lived there. I lived I lived all around Europe during this time, taking care of the businesses. But after about 9-10 years of doing that,
Which is quite a long time.
yeah.
okay.
I at that time, around the late 90s, actually, my boss, Said, had already started investing in some tech companies.
Okay. But not necessarily in Europe.
Not
or
in
somewhere
Europe.
else.
This was in the U.S.
In the
Okay,
US.
In the U.S. Our
Okay.
headquarters was in the U.S.
Okay.
So while I was busy doing our bottled water business, I knew that we were already doing some investing in tech companies in the late 90s, early 2000s. One of the businesses that we had was in real estate, and in Palo Alto along University Avenue, which was the road that leads to Stanford University.
Okay.
Okay. We had this little building, and everybody called it the Lucky Building. you
Why?
know?
Why
Okay,
is
and
that
the
so?
reason for this is because Google started there, PayPal started there, Logitech started there, Danger, the company of Andy Rubin that was the first CEO of Android, started
Wow.
there. And it gave us a chance to actually be in the forefront of what was happening in tech. Okay,
I see.
or this particular startup.
Yeah, hold on, Jojo. You said that Lucky Building was your building.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
one of our, because in our real estate holdings.
Okay, okay.
So in that building, they were just tenants.
Okay.
And in particular, for example, with PayPal, okay, we were able to negotiate that part of their lease was in equity.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
But funny story, you know, because I think this was around 98, 99 when when I would be in the U.S. During one of my trips in the U.S. From Europe, Said told me, "Oh, Jojo, we invested in this company. They moved money from Palm Pilot to Palm Pilot. You know, the Palm Pilot becomes a wallet, etc., etc.
Okay.
Really smart people." And this was PayPal.
Okay.
So we did do a little play with investing, starting the late 90s and early 2000s, and then but when I came back to Silicon Valley in 2005, because Said wanted us to start another business.
Okay.
Okay, that's when we started Plug and Play. No, so. Since we were
But not in that Lucky Building anymore.
not in that Lucky
Okay.
Building anymore. You know, that Lucky Building had beautiful stories for us to tell.
Okay.
Okay, so we
It
wanted...
still
it still is existing.
It's there.
Okay.
Okay.
So, still a lot of companies go there because they know that it's lucky.
I see.
Okay.
It's where this big tech brands began.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. So, when I came back in 2005, again, we wanted to scale the Lucky Building story, and that's when we started Plug and Play. So I bought a building in Sunnyvale, which is about 45 minutes south of San Francisco. the idea was to cut it up into smaller pieces and lease it out to tech startups. Okay. This was in 2006. We started. I opened the doors in January of 2006, and that's when Plug and Play started.
And how many startups are housed in the Plug and Play
Well,
building? And how big is it?
Yeah, it's about 17,000, 18,000 square meters.
Wow.
Okay. It can house about 700 people, 600, 700 people, and at any given time, we have about 400 startups there from all around the world.
Wow. For different nationalities.
Yes, yes,
different-
yes.
So
Maybe about out of the 600, 700, a good third of them are like doctors and
Wow.
really smart.
So it's
people.
quite a melting pot
Oh yeah,
of
Like-
creativity as well.
Well, I like to call Plug and Play Silicon Valley in a box.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
I cannot say that we've created or we've invented anything new. Everything that happens in Plug and Play happens in Silicon Valley. Okay, except that what we try to do is accelerate that whole process of success and failure for the startups in Plug and Play. No, so whether they're looking for funding, they're looking for building their team, they're looking for some acceleration, they're looking for engagement with corporations. We try to make that process as fast and as seamless as possible for the startup. No,
So like big corporations, like I heard from Mr. Konsing, from the BPI president, said that it's his team, the Ayala Group, also including Jaza and the other VIPs of the company, went to that building. Are other corporations really go there and meet with startups and do some collaboration in terms of technology?
In fact, that's what we do and focus on now. Okay, when we started Plug and Play, it was first at the very base. It was just a co-working space.
Okay.
And we think that that's very positive for the startups because they get to hang out with like-minded people.
Yes.
Okay, so that's very important. The second major offering that we have is that we were a platform where startups can engage with investors, both angel and VCs, so that for funding purposes. Okay, so for the first years of Plug and Play, that was why a lot of people would go to our campus for the startups to raise money and for the investors to find deal flow. Okay. Later on, maybe during the last 5-6 years, the focus now has become more on corporate engagements. Okay, and today we are the largest platform for open corporate innovation in the world. And what that means,
Yeah.
what that means,
You said open corporate
Innovation.
innovation.
Okay.
What exact is that a new concept?
well, I don't know if it's new, to be honest with you. We coined it ourselves after we hear it from our corporate partners themselves. Okay, but what it means is that we have created a platform now for in Plug and Play in 14 industry verticals. Okay, including finance, insurance, automotive, real estate, etc., etc. So in 14 different verticals, we've created a platform where startups can engage with corporations. Now, is that easy to do? Well, before, no. Okay, no. It was very difficult for a startup to just knock on the door of Daimler, Mercedes-Benz, and say, "Oh, I have this really cool product. I like you to do a proof of concept with me
Okay.
on it." Well, most probably it will be very challenging to say the least to do
Correct.
that. No. So what we've done over these years, over this recent years, is really to have that healthy platform where we bridge the startup and the corporation. So
How, but what's the system like? Is it the corporations who approach you, or the startup companies would tell you who they would like the technology to be offered to?
Well, in this case, it's everything is market driven.
Okay.
In this case, our customers are really the corporations. Okay, so what will happen is Mercedes-Benz, for example, will come to us and say, okay, we're looking for software that will enhance the customer experience inside the vehicle. Okay, or I'm looking for software that will do autonomous driving. Okay, so we will sit down together and look for technologies that they are looking for. Okay, not to say that they're already developing that internally. Okay, but they want to augment it with what is happening outside of the Mercedes-Benz structure. Okay, so what we do is really we do the heavy lifting for all of these corporations and look for the startups globally. Okay, I do have 28 offices now all around the world.
Wow.
Okay, so we based on what we've learned from the corporation, we go globally and search for these startups. Okay, now all of these startups, and we probably search about at least 10,000 startups a year globally, and out of those 10,000, we accelerate between 300 to 500 of them a year.
Okay.
Now, what does the acceleration mean? The acceleration means that from the pool of the 10,000, we do the first vetting, the first filtration process, okay, if you want to call it that, of the startups, no? And then from the short list, we now present them to our corporate partners. The corporate partners will say, okay, out of normally from the 10,000, it goes down to about less than 100. Okay, between 50 to 100. Out of the 50 to 100, they will now choose. Okay, they will now choose who they are interested in doing proof of concept projects with.
Okay.
Okay, and then from there, we go through from the short list, we now choose the ones that will go through the acceleration program. No, so
normally, how many startups would reach that point?
Okay,
so from 10,000 to 300,
between
to
300 to
100?
500.
Okay, 300
are
to
the ones
500.
are the ones being accelerated every year. So on the average, that's the number. Okay, and then our goal is for all of these startups to have proof of concept projects with the large corporations. No?
Are there times also where these startups, these 300 to 500, group themselves together, solidify themselves to make sure that all the various aspects of the proof of concept are presented? Does that happen?
Well, yes. For example, we may choose two startups that are trying to solve the same problem.
Okay, yes.
So it does happen where the two startups will collaborate and just merge, and then just get the good things from their individual technologies and into one product. Okay, so that happens. Again, this is part of the open innovation spirit that we have. No, and one interesting thing here is that it's not just Mercedes-Benz that is really the client. In the same platform, you have Renault, Porsche, Toyota, Mitsubishi, some many other brands in the same platform, looking at the same technologies. Because they also say that we're not the only smart people in the world, right?
Okay.
So if their own colleagues, and they normally know each other, okay, their own colleagues say this is really good, then it validates what their initial feeling was on that particular product or that particular project, right? So that open innovation really promotes uh, like almost like crowdsourced.
Oh,
you know,
yes, correct.
Thinking
Correct.
on not only on the startup but where the industry is going to head.
And that is just one vertical.
Yeah.
That's only one vertical.
And we do 14.
You do 14,
Yeah.
and you do that in the all the other verticals.
Yeah.
Now, my question before we go into a break is, here is a Filipino who accelerates startups composed of various nationalities from different countries. How does it feel as a Filipino to be the one doing that? And what do you think were your what were the traits that you have? What do you think is there a formula for a Filipino like you to really make it as in Silicon Valley?
Wow, that's a big question. First, let me tell you that I think I was also lucky. Okay, I was lucky that I met Said. Okay, so I think that's number one. Make sure that I always tell my children, opportunities and life-changing events will happen to you, once, it's not going to happen all the time. Okay.
Correct.
But when that time comes, it's very important that that you grasp it. Okay. In my case, it was really meeting my Said, my friend. We've known each other for what, almost 30 years now. Okay.
But definitely, your business, any business that you go into, will not prosper without the marketing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
As Mr. as the BPI president said, you're so modest that you don't really want to brag on your accomplishments.
Because
But-
I cannot.
Okay.
Again, but yeah, I understand. I mean, of course, for all the young people out there, you're in school, study hard. Okay, have that discipline of making sure that you have that mindset of being a sponge and just learn. Okay, that was very important for me.
I'm just curious, Jojo. Of the 400 startups that are housed in Plug and Play now, are there Filipinos there?
There's a couple.
Okay.
I believe. I don't know all, but I'm sure that there are. If not in not in our office in Sunnyvale, we do have all of these acceleration programs happening globally. The one nearest to us is in Singapore, and I know that we have one Filipino company there now being accelerated. Okay, so but that's one of the frustrations that I have why I came back to the Philippines in about 5 years ago, is because I wanted to accelerate what was happening in the Philippines so that we can have, more presence in the tech scene globally.
Let's talk about that, more about that when Open for Business returns. Stay with us. We're open for business, and with me is Mr. Jojo Flores, the co-founder of Plug and Play. Jojo, you mentioned that you decided 5 years ago to come back to the Philippines and try to replicate, what you have been doing in the Silicon Valley for how many years?
Well, from 2006. I came back here in 2013, so about 7 years. I was
7 years. So, in the Philippines, what are you looking for? Do we really? And I mentioned earlier in my introduction that yes, there is a wealth of Filipino talent, and we compete with in the fields of information technology, engineering. As a matter of fact, our BPOs are really booming because of that Filipino talent. What are you looking for in the Filipino talent, and what do you think will equip them to make it big, like plug and play?
Well, okay. Like I mentioned, I think what is very important for any business, startup business, whether in tech or otherwise, is still the team. All right.
Okay.
What I personally look for, or what my team personally, what my team looks for in any investment that we do, is with a team, there are certain traits that we're looking for. Number one is they really have to be smart.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, with technology, I think that's essential. Okay, okay. So if you're in a tech business, we like to invest in people that are tech themselves. Okay. Second is if you can get in the team domain expertise. So, for example, if it is in logistics, no, so there must be someone there that does logistics very well, or is an expert in logistics. Okay, and third, I like to see that they can execute on things that they say. Okay, so we're not the type of people that immediately writes a check based on paper napkin plan
Yes.
kind of thing, no? And I think those days are gone anyway. already.
Yes. Correct.
Okay, but what I like to do is, after the first meeting, ask them to whether they can finish their MVP or their minimum viable product, or they can get some validation on the business model, etc., over a period of time. And if they let's say, for example, do that in 1 month, and then after a month they come back and say, okay, this is what we've done, this is what we find, etc. Then then that tells me that they are able to execute on what they're able to say. And then the subjective one, that is sometimes more important, is I want to see it in the eyes, is
The
this
passion.
is this the person that's going to deliver what they say they're going to deliver?
I see.
I'm going to
How much percentage is that subjective one?
I cannot say,
Okay.
but the thing is, in very early stage investments, you don't really have anything, you don't have a lot of data to
back it up.
study.
Yeah, yes,
right?
correct.
So for sure, a bigger majority will have to play on the subjective part, right? Like, for example,
But say for example, when you are presented an idea or a concept, immediately that with your experience in the Silicon Valley, immediately, and you can spot easily what idea or concept will make it in that world.
well, this is the thing, we never sign NDAs. Okay, and you know why?
Why?
Is because we know that there's no one unique idea. Okay, there's one problem, and I'm sure a lot of people in the world have thought of this problem, and a lot of people in the world have thought of solutions for the problem. So when you say, "Oh, I have a unique idea, I have a unique solution," chances are it's not true. Okay, there's probably a couple of other people in the world, I'm not saying just in the Philippines, doing the same thing. All right,
But how can you protect the
you can't. I mean, right from the start, especially if it's software, you really can't. It's all execution at that point. Of course,
Okay.
you got hardware, you can do IP, and we encourage that. If
Yes.
you can protect it, fine. you know. But at the end of the day, your IP is not your competitive advantage. You know, it's
Correct.
your grit, it's your execution capability. You know, it's your resourcefulness, it's your personality. You know, it's how you motivate your team and yourself.
Yeah,
You know,
and a
those
total
are
package.
Yeah, that's what's, you know. It's not the technology itself. You know, we heard that very early on, even with Google. You know, they knew that their technology on search was not the best at that time. Okay, but they just did a better job in the execution. You know, they did a better job also in the monetization. Okay, so again, you know, even with Facebook, you know, with Facebook, we had one company that was doing exactly the same as Facebook, and when we saw Facebook, our company had more traction than Facebook at that time. Okay?
Okay.
But did we invest in Facebook? No. You know, and you know, I mean, it happens. You know, we don't have a crystal ball.
Yes.
You know.
So in a part of your life, you and Facebook came
Oh
across.
yeah, because they also, if I'm not mistaken, they were occupying also one of the other buildings that we had in Palo Alto, and they
I
wanted
see.
to buy it. Okay, and again, you know, so like I said, you know, it's not so much about smarts. You know, you have to put yourself in the opportunity to win, and if you're lucky, you win.
Okay, Jojo, there are, of course, a lot of things are happening in technology now. So, my question is, what areas of innovation are you looking at, and are there new technologies that you think will really change the market landscape? Like, for example, you know, the one that I heard a lot about is AI.
Oh yeah. I mean, just a word of caution though. You know, don't get too much. You know, don't get caught too much on the technology itself. Okay, remember, technology is a tool that you use so that you can get better. Okay, or be better. Okay, but don't think that if you employ AI into everything that you do, that's going to make your business better. Okay, especially for the large corporations that's going through like digital transformation and so on. You know, that don't make, you know, I think they should not make that error of using technology as the vehicle by which they will be successful. You know, first it starts with a strategy, and then if the AI technology can help you in achieving your strategy better and faster, then use it. No, if blockchain can help you, fine, use it. If IoT can help you, fine. I mean, but you have to know first where you want to be, and then pick and choose the technologies that will get you to getting to that.
So you
achievement.
mentioned IoT, blockchain, and of course AI.
AI.
Are these the areas where a
Well,
lot
yeah,
of technologies and business changes will happen in the future?
Yeah, I think so. But again, don't get caught with it too much, because, for example, data science is still very important. You know,
Yes.
the cloud is still very important. You know, and but again, don't focus too much on the technologies available. You know, focus on the strategy, and then let pick and choose the technologies that will work for you. Okay, but yes, those are the areas where those are the buzzwords now. No?
You keep mentioning, Jojo, about strategy, which I think is very critical. So I really admire it when you said, don't focus on technology, focus on strategy. Can you expound more on the way Plug and Play and you have created a strategy to ensure that business objectives are supported?
Well, let me step back and say, what's the why here? Why are we doing this? What's our mission? Okay, and our mission is really to create the best open platform that will delight our startups. Yes, we have to bring in the corporations to play in this platform, but really the main focus that we have is on the startup. Okay, right from the beginning, that's how we built Plug and Play. That that focus and that passion on helping startups succeed. Okay, now in that has always been the forefront of and motivation for doing things and not doing things. Okay, is it good? Is it going to be good for? Is it going to be good for the startup or not? No? For a company that's actually so involved in technology, we're not so much technology enabled. No, of course we do use tools in order for us to manage information and stuff like that. Okay, but we are more than anything, I guess, a people organization. We're very big on relationships. So the relationships that we have both with the with all involved in our ecosystem, with our startups, with our investors, with our corporate partners, with our mentors community, and executives in residence, and also, of course, even our team. No, I mean, that's why I travel a lot, is because I instead of Skyping with my team, I'd rather that we have lunch
Face to
together,
face,
we
yes.
have drinks together, and I see them. I see all of the body language and stuff like that. No?
And you do support, and you, as you mentioned, you are replicating what you have done in the U.S. here in the Philippines.
Well,
How-
replicating is a dangerous word. no?
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to say that we're replicating Silicon Valley or even Plug and Play. Okay. But,
you are, let's say,
but always what we've done is we bridge the startups to Silicon Valley.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
We work with maybe about 20 governments all around the world, and they always tell us, "Oh, we want the same Silicon Valley in our country."
Okay.
And we, in a gentle way, we say, that's kind of, that's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Because Silicon Valley is unique, and it's not brick and mortar that
Yes.
made Silicon Valley. It's the mindset, it's the culture, it's the people. Unless you can bring all of those things into your country, that's not going to happen.
Correct.
Okay.
But how are the Filipino startups doing? You've definitely encouraged them. You have engagement with them because you are also providing support to them. How do you describe the Filipino talent? How do you describe the Filipino startups? What's their chances of making big?
I think the chances are high. No? Do we have talent? Yes. Do we have skills? Yes. We have to improve it constantly, okay, and not, sit on our laurels, and in any industry, even if you're already at the top, you have to continue, innovation and innovating and having that strong entrepreneurial spirit, etc., etc. All those nice words, but really act on it. So, for example, we have our BPO industry. Okay,
Yes.
how many people do we employ? 2, 3. I'm sorry. I think 2-3 million.
Yes,
people
this
in,
one company has
yeah.
about
Okay,
25,000.
in the BPO industry, I
Yung
think
ganda ng lokal ng
it
Fairview.
generates $20 billion. I think we're number one.
Meron na siyang screen,
Now
te,
we
parang
overtook
sentral.
India, for example.
May
So,
screen na siya dun
but
sa may koro.
with AI,
Yung mga
that's
kapilya ata
again,
nagtatayong
it starts with the
ganun pala.
stallion
Meron
saying,
ng
do you
white
want to
screen
be,
na mahaba.
do you want to continue being number one? If you want to continue being number one, then you have to use technology in order for you to be number one, right? And we do have all of the data that we need
Parang central,
in the
gusto ko.
BPO industry, and I think we can leverage on this data and create the best AI programs, or I mean products on the BPO on that industry, and institute it all around the world. No? So I think we're in the best position for us to do
Tingin
that.
ko sa
And
nakarating
as a matter of fact, there's already an association promoting it with the IT BPAP. So
Ipakita, no?
speaking of that,
Yun,
it's basically
Ipakita.
composed of various
Ipakita nila.
organizations, corporations. What are your suggestions
Pakikino.
from
Tigis-tigis ang
both
kutsara.
the private sector and the government sector to
performance rating ng
continue
tunay.
to hone the skills of the Filipino talent?
Well, first and foremost, I think it has to be one of the priorities. I think of our leadership, and that's really someone needs to whisper the this message to our decision makers. No, now, but having said that, we're moving along pretty well. No, I cannot, I know reality. We know reality here in the Philippines, and maybe it should not even be one of our priorities. I mean, however, technology is a great equalizer. It can have it can make our 18-year-old person that lives in Dumaguete, for example, be competitive versus the same 18-year-old in Stanford.
Yes.
Because that's how technology. That's the nature of technology.
Yes.
It's a great equalizer. We can definitely leapfrog. The status of the Philippines in terms of economic success, even. In creation of value of knowledge-based jobs, in creation of valuable companies. I mean, for example, I think one tech company in the Philippines is the same market cap aggregately of the entire Manila Stock Exchange, or Philippine Stock Exchange, so. But it's really technology that can do that, and you can do that in a short span of time. No? So I think we do have the resources already in the programs. We just really need to do more of it, no? And have it and not kill it, because
Yes.
in the last 10, 12 years, I've seen it from when I started engaging with the Philippine government, from one administration to another. One administration would be really gung-ho about it, and then change of government, and then suddenly it's dead.
But is it easier now?
It's much easier now, I think, because also there is motivation for us to be a more competitive country, in general. Okay, and I think our government hears this from everybody else in the world, that technology and innovation is something that they should be serious about.
Yeah, perfect. So, Jojo, now that a lot of these things are happening, and that you'll have established your base also here in the Philippines, my last question would be, how do you see the future? What's next? Do you think that the Philippines will be able to establish its own Silicon Valley, or do you think that Filipino startups here would make it there and in the global marketplace? What's the future for us?
The quick answer to that is all yes. Okay, I'm very confident and bullish that the Philippines can have a mark, not just here in the region but globally. Again, there's many things need to be done. Obviously, there's a lot of work for us in our line of business, on the acceleration side, on the government side, on the universities, and as well as the corporations. I think we do have the ingredients, no? And first, though we are not very big risk takers, okay, as a country and as a people, we are entrepreneurs. Okay, I think we do have strong entrepreneurial blood. Okay, if ever we are,
And you are a great example of that.
oh, thank you, thank you. If ever we don't see that in terms of number, because it's still a lot of, when people graduate from the university, they'll go to work instead of being. It's only because of the economic situation. Okay, if as a parent, for instance, if my kids say they're going to go be an entrepreneur, and I know that there's success to be had to being an entrepreneur, thus we need a lot of examples. Okay, then I would allow I would normally allow my kids, no? But what is happening is, Iho, don't do this because I mean, after all of your good grades, just go get work from a big multinational instead, or go abroad, and work there. So I think what's happening is it's driven more economic reasons more than anything.
Yes.
But if we can have, again, very positive examples. If we can have very positive examples, then for sure, I think we can create more entrepreneurs here in the country.
Okay. Jojo, if you can address the startups, what is it for them to make it in the world of technology, and what else do you think should they look forward to? What is it that they should really focus on? Because a lot of them would, as you mentioned, there's a lot of, let's say, 10,000 of them, and then later on, eventually, there's only 200 to 500, and only about 3 or 10. We went to the CNET Awards. I've seen that, and I noticed there's about 250 applications, and then they chose the top 10 until they chose only the top 5 for funding. How would you encourage the Filipino startups?
Well, okay. First, don't force it if it's not for you. It's something that being an entrepreneur is challenging and difficult. You have lots of sleepless nights, and if you fail, that there's no one else is going to give you your salary, right? So it is a challenging thing, but if you think that you have the heart and the guts and the mindset to do it, go ahead, please do it. Now, let's be more technical. Like any business, you are addressing a problem. So make sure that the problem is something that is not just your problem. It has to be a problem of many people. Okay, not just in the Philippines, but possibly if it can be a problem of many people outside of the Philippines as well, here in Asia or in or globally. So I like to, if you could, if it's a tech startup, we like to look at the problems that are big with a big market. Okay, think of for the solution. I think on the solution side, 2 things: your domain expertise and skill set. No, so if you don't know how to code. If you don't know how to, if you haven't heard of AI or ML or IoT and all of these things, learn about it. And the beauty of things now is that you can learn a lot of things over the internet.
Correct.
Okay, and a lot of people who code, they don't have formal educational backgrounds on coding. Okay, you have many stories, and I've met many guys, many people they code, they learned from the internet, or they read them, they read themselves. Okay, so I think that's very important. And third, network. Okay, I think go out there, make a lot of friends. Okay, and don't be afraid to tell your story, to give your idea. That's the important. People, I'm not gonna give my idea because you're gonna study. You're
And you
gonna,
have to give me NDA.
yeah, that's all. That don't don't have that kind of attitude. If an idea is good, you have to share it and get feedback. Okay, so network and build your team. I think that would be my.
This has been a very exciting, inspiring afternoon with Jojo Flores, the co-founder of Plug and Play, and we hope to have him visit us again. Probably next time, he'll be bringing one of the very successful startups that he supported here in the Philippines. Open for Business will return. Our term of the week and our code of the day when Open for Business comes back. Stay with us. Thank you very much, Jojo.
Thank you, sir.
Open for Business is back. In our term of the week, you take a refresher of business terms to make you updated, more informed, and ready to make smarter business decisions. Our term for the week is growth hacking. According to Kate Harrison of Forbes.com, growth hacking is a term coined by Sian Ellis to describe a marketing technique that focuses on quickly finding scalable growth through non-traditional and inexpensive tactics such as the use of social media. We end our webisode with a quote of the day. Our quote of the day, today's words are from the father of semiconductors, Filipino-American Diosdado Dado Banatao, one of the pioneers in Silicon Valley, California, the birthplace of tech giants we know today. The engineer invented the first chipset installed in personal computers in 1984, which is still present in 30% of computers today. Hailing from Cagayan Valley, Banatao, whose father was a farmer and whose mother was a house helper, had a humble beginning. He even had to walk for miles just to get to school when he was younger. Today, he is the managing partner of Tallwood Venture Capital, his fourth company in his 4-decade career. He continues to invest in startups focused on science and technology, but has been more focused lately in the philanthropic efforts as chairman of the Philippine Development Foundation. Mr. Banatao said, "Failure is not an option. The goal stays until it is accomplished." Join us again next Saturday, 5 p.m. Philippine time for another episode of Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news to keep you informed and open for business and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News, and you can watch us again in the video section of the Eagle News Facebook page and on eaglenewslive.com. Also visit postinglive.com for news and updates on Open for Business. Catch me later at 9 p.m. and every Wednesday, also at 9 p.m. on Net25's Eagle News International, as I report more business news here and around the world. For Open for Business, this is Cesar Vallejos. Have a great day.